Welcome to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. My name is Jackson Mumey, and each week we'll be bringing you updated information about the bar exam and what you need to do in order to make the next bar exam your last bar exam. Ready to get started? Let's jump to it.
Hey, everybody.
We're here. Welcome. Today is Wednesday, April 17th. Glad to have you all with us on the live broadcast. If you are watching on replay, glad to have you as well. And we've got a lot to cover today. There's a lot going on, a lot of things happening in the bar exam world. As usual, I'm joined by Tracey and June. It's good to see both of you. And here we are at about 100 days to the bar exam in July. And we're still getting results in from the February test. So we want to be talking about all of that. I want to begin by talking about some administrative things on our end and some exciting news and good things that are happening and some changes that we're making. As many of you, we had planned to do a live boot camp here in Denver at the end of this month. Due to unforeseen circumstances, we had to cancel that boot camp. However, we were able to change our plans and add a virtual online boot camp for May 10th and 11th. And we're pretty excited about that. Tracey, you and I and June did a virtual boot camp a few months ago. You remember that?
Yes, we did a booster, but
A
this will
booster.
be a full-on boot camp.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great experience. We're going to talk about photo reading and mind mapping. We're going to talk about the superego section that you're going to be doing, Tracey. June, you're going to be talking about mindset, and you've got some interesting stuff planned, I know, for our students for that event, right?
I do, but it's a secret.
It's a secret. Yeah. It's such a secret. Sometimes she doesn't even tell me. So in any event, we are looking forward to it. Now, the cost for this virtual boot camp is less than the live boot camp. And of course, there's no travel. The dates are May 10th and 11th. It's a Friday and a Saturday. Essentially, what will happen is that we will start Friday morning Mountain Time. We will do photo reading, and then we will go into essay writing and MPTs and MBE and mindset. You'll have small breakout groups. And then on Saturday, we will continue with those breakout groups and additional one-on-one coaching. And then on Saturday afternoon, we'll wrap up with mind mapping and some other tools and techniques. We've also got a guest speaker coming. I'm going to give you a brief preview of his work today later. He's a successful Florida bar taker from this last February, from the results that just came out. If you are interested in attending the virtual boot camp, make sure you register as soon as possible. We want to make sure that nobody gets left out. But this is a great way to do it. It's convenient. And because it's going to be relatively small size, you're going to get a lot of personal attention. Tracey, you have any thoughts about this new event we're going to do?
Yes, I specifically want to invite any of you who have been to boot camp before, because for you, it'll be a refresher, but it'll be an opportunity to hone in on some of the things you learned before. And you'll have an opportunity to work personally with me and with Amanda and with Jackson and with June. And that's invaluable for your bar preparation. This bar that's happening now is just tough, and it's tougher and tougher. And we want you to be able to use the resources and tools that we have. This man that you're going to hear from in a few minutes actually has been with us for 2 rounds, for 2 bar exams, and he didn't pass the first time, but he improved his score, and this time he passed. So this should be a big signal to those of you who are repeat takers and maybe even repeat boot campers that we don't stop working for you, and we have the tools that you need. And so we're making this opportunity open and affordable for you in May to get you ready for the July exam or for next February's exam.
Yeah. If you have questions, make sure you reach out to June. There are some discounts for students that have been to boot camp before. And so we want to make sure that you take advantage of that. If you're already a photo reader, we're going to improve your skills with that particular technique. So it's everything that would happen at a live boot camp. We're just going to do it online. And that'll be, I think, convenient and less expensive for everybody. And it's a way to go. Now, we'll also announce today that we have scheduled our next live boot camp here in Denver for October 25th and 26th. I believe those are the dates. You can find the information on our website under resources, and we are taking applications for that live boot camp in October. So that's a perfect date for those of you thinking about the February 2025 exam. So would encourage you to get your enrollment in for that early as well. So that's where we stand with virtual boot camp, and I'm looking forward to it. It should be a lot of fun and a useful experience, I think, for everybody that attends. The next thing I want to talk about is an exciting thing to me. Many of you have undoubtedly heard about the Apple Vision Pro. It's the virtual reality headset that's what's now called spatial computing. It's not just a toy, it's an actually cool thing. And the reason I've got one of these is because we have been working for a while since the Vision Pro came out about 2 months ago. We've been working to create content for the Vision Pro. And what I mean by that is that spatial computing actually allows you to change a whole lot of things about the way you would study. You can create multiple screens as big as you want, and you can place them wherever you want. And it's a way to get your focus in on what you're doing. In other words, you're not distracted by all the other things going on around you. So one of the things that we're doing is to put our basic bar review course in the format that someone with an Apple Vision Pro can use it. And then we're adding additional content for the Vision Pro. We're doing some videos that are in 3D immersive video, which is pretty interesting stuff. And one of the things I'm really excited about is that instead of doing Zoom calls when you're coaching, if you've got the Vision Pro, we're actually going to do them as FaceTime calls and record them. And if you know anything about the Vision Pro, one of the interesting pieces is that when you're on the Vision Pro, you're actually in a FaceTime call. You actually like you're in the same room. It is truly extraordinary. And it just creates a different kind of environment. It's as if you're sitting at the table with me talking and working. And I'm going to be doing the coaching through the Vision Pro. So all of this is to say that if you have been thinking about getting a Vision Pro, or maybe you have one already, I would invite you to reach out to me. We have a special course for the Vision Pro. It also includes mind maps. And I can tell you, I've been working with them doing a mind map where you're just moving things around. The ability to manipulate items in space is pretty remarkable. And so we are developing content for the Vision Pro. That's my point. So if you're interested in the Vision Pro and you've been thinking about it, I'm going to invite you to look at it seriously. I think it's an incredible tool for the bar exam. And I've been creating content over the last couple of months and will continue to do that's exclusive to that device. If you've not seen the Vision Pro, go down to your local Apple store and they will do a free 30-minute, 40-minute demo with you that's pretty extraordinary. It's hard to describe this thing until you've actually had it on your head. And once you've done it, you can't go back. But I'd like you to experience it. And then if you're interested, talk to us. Now you can buy the Vision Pro from Apple, and they've got a variety of different payment plans. I know that people have been talking about how expensive it is. It's not cheap, but it can be paid over a 3-year period at about $300 a month. So it is manageable. And then we're going to provide content for it. So if you're already in our course, let us know. If you're thinking about the bar review and you're interested in the Vision Pro, we've got a specific product for that by itself, and just reach out to us. Tracey thinks I'm a little crazy with this, just a little, but I'm pretty excited. This reminds me a lot, Tracey, of when we did the bar review on an iPod 20 years ago, and then we put it on an iPad 15 years ago. I feel like Vision Pro might be the next step. I don't know. It's weird, but it's cool. Anyway, there's exciting stuff coming with this. Keep an eye out for that. No pun intended.
No, it is. It's exciting. And I'm interested to see where the Vision Pro technology goes in the next 6 months, even a year. I think it'll even be better. And now would be a good time to get in on it and to be one of those front runners.
Yeah. And the other part of it is that we think Vision Pro for the next generation exam is going to be valuable because that's got the components of mediation and negotiation and interaction. And so we're really getting a head start on that as we develop the next gen exams. I suspect when we get to 2027, 2028, it's going to be passe. People are going to go, oh, yeah, of course I got my Vision Pro. So we'll see what happens there. All right. Moving from the future and the very futuristic to the current. And I want to talk about February results and what we've got in so far for the year. This was a big week. Earlier in the week, we had results in both Florida and Texas. Those are the first two large jurisdictions to report out results. We've gotten results now in about, I'd say, 20 or so jurisdictions. I want to start with Florida because obviously that's important. We've got a lot of Florida students. The numbers in Florida, there were 1,300 bar takers. Typically, we would see 2,000 to 3,000 bar takers. We're seeing this drop in terms of number of bar takers across the country, but the Florida results were pretty catastrophic. The overall pass rate in Florida was 41%. Now, when your overall pass rate in a major jurisdiction is that far below 50%, much less the old days of 70 or 80% pass rates, something is fundamentally changing. The first time pass rate in Florida was only 56%. That tells us that the exam was graded brutally hard. Now, I read the essay questions, they've been released. The grading was incredibly challenging and hard, and it shows up in that pass rate. The repeat taker pass rate was only 29%. That's an extraordinarily low number. And it's a discouraging number, I know, for a lot of people. But having said that, I'm going to show you a video or a brief clip of a video in a minute from one of our students who did pass in Florida in February. And we do have students that passed, in case anyone's wondering. But it is a very difficult, very challenging environment when you see those numbers. Tracey, I know that this is a staggering number to look at, particularly when you think about the days when pass rates used to be in the 70s and 80s, right?
Yes. Not, I don't know if it was ever that high, but I think when I took the bar, it was more like 60%. And that those few percentage points, of course, make a huge difference. What I want to say to it, though, Jackson loves to talk about how dire it is, but I don't see any reason why you can't be part of the percentage of the people that pass and not dwell on the high percentage of fail rate.
Yeah, I think that's true. And we certainly do better than that. The reality is that people that are trying to do the same old thing over and over again aren't successful. And that's what these numbers tell us. And so if you're in a big box bar review or you've done a self-study cocktail and it's not working for you, these numbers suggest that it's not going to start working, that there's nothing here to make you think you can change that. And so you have to change your study approach. You have to use more of the tools, more of the techniques. I would say the things that we're suggesting to people make a huge difference in their scores. We have seen people raise their scores pretty dramatically across the board, not just in Florida, but there are approaches to this exam that give you a chance to be successful. And so while the numbers are, I think, potentially discouraging to people, you don't have to give in to that. You can still pass the exam. I want to highlight a couple of other things. We don't have Texas numbers. I will say generally it looks to follow the same trend in Florida. We've got a couple of other states with very low overall pass rates. Just point out in Pennsylvania, 48% overall pass rate, but a 39% repeater pass rate. In Arizona, we've got a 46% overall pass rate, 44% in Illinois overall pass rate, 41% in Indiana overall pass rate. We're getting less than 50% pass rates throughout big jurisdictions. And this tells me that you cannot back your way into the bar exam. You can't do this halfway. You can't think that you're going to just do a little casual studying a few weeks before the exam and memorize a bunch of stuff and go in and pass. It's just not happening. So I want to caution you about that. The other thing that I have seen as I've been talking to students is that we've had some students who made curious decisions about jurisdictions on their own and didn't talk to us before they made a decision. They jumped jurisdictions, for example, the UBE. I would caution you to be very careful about doing that. And if you're thinking about switching a jurisdiction, reach out to us, talk to us. We may or may not be able to offer you any particular insight. But for example, we had students that went out west because they thought the pass rates were better in a jurisdiction like Utah, and it just dive bombed. The Utah pass rates were not great, and they got surprised. And we had students that switched jurisdictions and lost some of their accommodations that they had received for extra time. These are things that we'd like to talk with you about before you make those decisions. I'm not suggesting that you forum shop for a jurisdiction, but I am saying that there may be better or worse places for you to take the bar exam. And while we can't give you specific advice, we can at least give you some insight about these different jurisdictions and where you should or shouldn't be thinking about taking the test. If you're in the UBE, your score is valid anywhere that accepts the UBE, so it shouldn't matter a lot. But what I'm beginning to see is that the essays and performance tests in the UBE are supposed to be graded uniformly. The NCBE provides drafter point sheets, but we're not seeing a consistency of scoring. And that's a troubling trend to me. That is, the bar examiners in jurisdiction A are reading the essays and grading them differently than the examiners in jurisdiction B who've got the same essays and the same drafter point sheets. So I think you've got to be at least aware of that and careful about it when you're picking a UBE jurisdiction. Now, if you're in Florida, Georgia, California, obviously you're out of the UBE entirely and you know what you're dealing with there. But if you've been taking the Florida exam, for example, and you haven't been successful, one strategy is to drop out of Florida, take the UBE somewhere else, get licensed, and then come back to Florida if you still want to take that exam. I know there's not reciprocity in California or Georgia, but I think it's still important to consider that as a possibility. So again, I would encourage you to reach out to me, talk to me about it. Let me tell you at least what I know at this point and what we're seeing. We will expect to see results from New York, I would think, in the next couple of weeks. I was surprised that Texas came out as early as it did, but I would expect New York results by the end of the month. And of course, California and Georgia come out in May. So we've got a bit of time until those results come out. Tracey, any other thoughts that you've got about results?
Yeah. We have had a few students who have handwritten their exam and they don't pass. There is so much bias against handwritten exams. We had a student that scored a 0 on an essay, and it may be because the handwriting could not be read. We have enough bias going on, especially if you don't live in that state, against students that have decided to take a UBE exam in another state. And there is a gender bias. Women's handwriting looks very different from men's handwriting. And you don't need to insert those biases. Learn how to type on your laptop. Get a separate keyboard. Buy a keyboard that you can bring, a wireless keyboard that you can bring to the exam and you can type on it so that you can have every advantage taking this exam.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's just heartbreaking when we see something like that. The other thing that happens with handwritten exams is that your blue book can get lost, which is the other possibility for this student. And there's just no way to trace it. So again, I know sometimes people don't want to talk to us because they think they're going to tell me to do something I don't want to do, or I shouldn't change jurisdictions. Look, we're on your side. We want to help you here. Let us at least give you our input before you make these decisions. I'm always surprised, and it's not the first time it's happened, but it is something that's troubling to me when I hear after the fact that a student switched to jurisdiction or decided to handwrite and didn't tell us about it. I think they lose the benefit of our skill and our experience to assist them, and it usually doesn't work out for them. So just be aware of that and be careful. Now, having given you this unhappy news, as I said, we did have students that have passed the Florida exam. We're still hearing from students. We're still getting results back in. And one of our students had taken the exam, as you're going to hear, 6 times, but twice with us. And the first time he took the exam with us, he passed the multi-state. And then this last time he passed the Florida portion. And I did an interview with Michael yesterday, and it was a great interview. I loved it. And so I just did a 90-second little clip that I wanted to share with you today because I think it's inspiring.
That's the Florida bar. One of the best feelings that I've ever felt. I would definitely recommend Celebration Bar Review.
And it was challenging for you. I think you took the exam a total of what, 6 times?
February 2024 was my sixth attempt. But it's a difference when you have someone that knows what they're doing, is able to hold your hand through the process and say, I know exactly why you're having the result that you're having. Photo reading was definitely an adjustment for me. You have to get over a feeling of skepticism. Is this working? I can tell you honestly, on the exam that I passed, there was a concept in the first essay that I'm sure no one had heard of. This concept wasn't covered in any of the books. So I was like, here we go again. It's another way that the floor bar is going to get me. But thankfully, something, our photo read, came back to me and started saying, no, let's diagnose this. Let's look at what's going on. Let's look at what they're telling you. Let's look at what's in the fact pattern. So I was able to remain calm in that situation. And while I don't know if what I wrote was perfect, I know what I wrote got me a pass.
You got a 60 on that essay.
I ended up passing. It was worth it. Life is not about how many times that you get knocked down. It's about how many times you're able to get back up when you get knocked down.
That's great.
Michael is going to be a guest speaker at our virtual boot camp. You're going to love his story. We're going to post the full interview later today. And boy, it's quite a story. This is a guy that had to come up through a hard scrabble background and get into law school and then get through the exam. And he just refused to give up. I wanted you to hear that piece about photo reading as well, because I know a lot of you are like, gee, does photo reading work or not work? It actually is a difference maker. And when I say that Michael got a 60, the mean on that particular essay was 50. It was a very tough essay, and he had great scores all the way across. If you're a photo reader, stay with it. If you're not a photo reader, consider it. And if you're taking an exam, whether it's Florida or somewhere else, I think the inspiration, his last comment about it, if you get knocked down, get back up, is worthwhile. When he describes the elation that he had on finding it passed, actually, I started to tear up. It was a great, great interview. So he's a terrific guy. We congratulate him and congratulate all of our students that passed in Florida and Texas and other jurisdictions as we're getting those results in. We're doing some interviews. We'll start putting those up over the next couple of weeks as we get the opportunity to do that. So that's nice to hear, isn't it? I do want to say and remind you the protocol. If you get your results and they're favorable, by all means, let us know so that we can celebrate with you. Sometimes people hold on to them and they're like, I'm not going to tell them, but let us know. If you were not successful, though, it's important that you let me know and that you send me the score sheets. Sometimes I get emails from people that just say, I want to talk to you, or I didn't pass. That doesn't give us much to work on. I need the score sheets. If you send me the score sheets, I will prepare a video with my evaluation of those scores and my recommendations. It is a personalized video, and I try to do them pretty promptly. So please do that. Your course will remain enabled for you, so you don't have to worry about whether or not you're able to stay in the course. We have a lifetime pass guarantee. If you took the exam in February 2024, we have not turned off your course access. We won't do that until after you inform us that you've passed the bar exam. You can start your studies, but it helps to have some direction if you are retaking. And so we want to be able to do that for you. And so I need to hear from you. And the best way to do that is via email with a copy of your score sheet. Sometimes people want to call or they want to talk to me. And in certain circumstances, I'm glad to talk with you where I can, but it doesn't do much good to talk to you when there's a lot of emotion in the mix and when I don't have your score sheets. So that's why we ask you to follow that particular protocol. Good luck. And if you have been lurking and not telling us your good news, please do. We'd like to hear that as well. All right. I want to change gears for a minute here and talk about where we are with respect to the July 2024 exam. We're roughly about 100 days out from that test. I know that's pretty amazing to believe. I think at this stage, at about 100 days to the exam, most of you should be studying about 15 to 20 hours a week. I would say that if you're under 20 hours a week, you probably got the next 2 weeks in which you can stay at that 15-hour mark. But when we get into May, for most people, we're going to be at 20 hours a week. I don't think it's necessary to do that as long as you're studying consistently. What I don't want to see you do is a big up and down, right? I'm doing nothing and then I go to 60 hours a week. That's not very effective. Stepped and spaced repetition works best when you're working in small increments. And so I want you to have some momentum going in. And I think 20 hours is about right for most people. I have talked with some students that tell me that they're doing only 5 to 10 hours a week of study right now. I don't think that's enough in most cases. So I'd like to see a slightly higher level. I also think this is a good time if you've been thinking about adding personal coaching. This is a good time to do that with Tracey or Amanda or myself. I also have the opportunity, something that we've not done before, which is called the video critique series. This is where you send work to me and I make a video and send it back to you. It's not one-on-one coaching, but it is grading of your essays that I do. And you can find that product in your online course, or you can send an email to June and she can give you the link. It's pretty affordable. And remember that with all of our products and services, we have a buy now, pay later program through our third-party partners. And that allows you to extend your payments in many cases for 12 months or longer and get all of the benefits of being in the course. There's a lot of things going on here, but functionally, I think it's just putting your head down and starting to study and follow through the course. Tracey, you got any thoughts about this 100-day mark?
It's time to get serious for sure. If you've been thinking you have a lot of time because July sounds like a long time from now, it really isn't. So now's the time.
You're talking about eclipses, right?
Eclipse. That's right.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, but I would echo what Tracy's saying. It's time to get serious. If you've not yet selected a bar review course, this is a good time to do it. And you shouldn't be waiting for that 8-week window that the big box bar reviews talk about. That's probably the least effective way to study. So this is the time to check it out. And glad to do a free study audit with you if you're not in our course, and review your results from the previous exams if you're retaking, and help you figure out how to study.
Let's get started. Because when you're writing essays and you're trying to figure out how to use the FLA method, you're trying to get your timing down, you're trying to get the substance down. That's a lot of things. And you cannot cram it into the last week. You cannot cram it into the last month. You probably can't cram it into the last 45 days. So this is the time to make the commitment to yourself and invest in your own course of study here and get with one of us while we still have spaces available.
We had a couple of student questions. I want to get through those, and then we'll turn it over to Tracey to talk about the eclipse. I had a student that just recently enrolled in photo reading for the July exam and said that they had been studying for the February test, but they deferred and didn't take it. But then they added photo reading and they said, I feel like I need to do MPTs and MEEs, but I have not used the photo reading technique to go through the outlines of the subjects. Should I be photo reading them? The answer is yes. And I want to give a protocol for everyone who is a photo reader starting at this point at 100 days to go. What I'm suggesting that you do is a nightly ritual. And I'm just for arbitrary reasons, I'm going to say Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'd like you to photo read all of your multi-state outline books. So book 1 and book 2, all 7 subjects. Now, even though you've not probably studied all 7 of those subjects, I want you to photo read them all. And it'll take you about 30 minutes to photo read both of those books. You should do that before you go to bed, and you should do the preparation stage and then go to bed. We don't need you to activate or to post view the work, because what's going to happen is that while you're sleeping, your brain's going to be processing what you photo read. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you photo read your multi-state outlines and you go to bed. You should be using the memory supercharger paraliminal that comes with your photo reading course. It's like a setting glue that helps your brain process what you've just done. On Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, whatever you prefer, you can, and I would recommend that you do your state outline photo readings. So if you're in Florida, read the Florida outlines. If you're in the UVE, read the UVE outlines. Now, typically those are shorter than the multi-state, but again, give yourself about 30 minutes before you go to bed and do the same thing. Just the steps to get into photo reading and then listen to the memory supercharger. And then one night a week, take it off and don't do any photo reading at all. The point here is that we want to create a base in your non-conscious with the photo reading every day. So if you're photo reading under this scenario for the next couple of months, it's going to give you a lot of touches of the material, and it makes a difference. It's very useful. And then when you get into that subject in your syllabus, go ahead and photo read and mind map the way that you normally would. So my recommendation to this student is, yes, absolutely, you should be doing the photo reading, but not just the MBE subjects, but also in their case, the UBE as well. Student also said, I did all the mind maps before. Here's the thing about a mind map. It's dynamic, not static. As you photo read, as you do practice questions, you will discover new pieces of information. So continue to update your mind maps. Mind maps are not something you do and put up on the wall or put in your backpack and forget about. They are dynamic, and we want them to continue to change and grow as you work with them. So that would be my suggestion with respect to photo reading. Another student who had deferred said, would you recommend that I go back to the beginning of the bar review courses before, or is there another strategy that you'd recommend? I think we had this question a couple weeks ago, as I recall, from someone else. And the basic answer is it depends on where you are and what you remember. But I would say if you have not completed the course, go on and complete the course and then come back because there's review built in. If you have completed the course, instead of trying to do everything all over again, what I do is actually make a list of the subjects in your exam from hardest subject for you to easiest. And then I would start going back in that order through the material, photo reading it or skimming it if you're not a photo reader, then watching the lecture, taking your notes, building your mind maps, doing your practice MBEs and practice essays, but do it by subject that you think is the weakest for you. Tracey, you recall we talked about this a couple weeks ago about starting all over again?
Sure, we did. And I think it depends on why you deferred. If you deferred because your time management wasn't good, if you deferred because you weren't getting the subject material, if you deferred because your essays were not passing quality, then I think it's time to look at not only how do I go through the material, but what resources with celebration bar review can I add to up my game? It may be that personal coaching will help you stay on track. It may be that time management class is what you need. It may be that you need the writing workshop, just one-on-one help for a dedicated 2-session, an hour long, real dial down on what you're doing on your essay writing. So I think you have to look at what the reason was that you deferred.
And it's useful to reach out to us. Another student wrote to us and said, should I go back to previous questions I've done a few months ago at this stage? I would say no. There's plenty of questions in the course. Days, performance tests, MBEs. There's not a real reason to go back and redo questions. And so I wouldn't recommend doing that.
And again, I think that depends on whether when you went through those questions before, did you add them to your mind maps? Did
Yeah.
you do something with them? Or are you just taking questions and it's just going out of your head?
Don't do questions just to do them. I'm working on learning to speak French. It's not going great, but I'm learning. And I'm using an app called Duolingo, which is fun. But I find it interesting. They use spaced repetition and they have you repeating certain things, but never doing exactly the same thing. And I think that's the model that we're using in our course. And it's fascinating to learn it. And I know some of you are actually following me on Duolingo, so I'm feeling the pressure now. But it's a great way to learn in these small increments. And you can follow the course and you're going to be okay. I trust that Duolingo isn't asking me the same question over and over again. We're not doing that either. And so there's a way to learn. All right, Tracey, there was a solar eclipse last week. Did you get out there with
There was?
did you get out there with your weird little glasses?
No, I was studying all day and all night, and I never went outside. And I don't look at the news and I don't listen to anything. So I had no idea what was going on.
None.
But let's assume it did. I like to teach in metaphor. And the solar eclipse is a perfect metaphor for our exam study. So I'm going to call this little talk Eclipsing clearing, resetting, and moving on. Last week, there was a solar eclipse. I love this characterization using Oreo cookies. And I want you to locate yourself on the ecliptical cycle here, starting with 12 o'clock with a total eclipse. And then you could see that as you move through the progression here, you may have more or less sunshine. Where are you in your journey right now on the ecliptical cycle? How do you feel about your bar exam preparation? Do you feel like the sun is shining through? Do you feel like you're in total darkness? Do you feel like things are clearing? Or do you think that things are getting more muddled as you go along? To see your preparation pathway clearly and safely, you need special lenses. Jackson talked about this just a few minutes ago. You cannot do this going rogue. You can't do this doing this on your own. I didn't pass the bar without help. I don't know anybody that hasn't taken a course and passed the bar. I wish when I took the bar exam that I had a course like this with so much personal attention and so many resources. We were just given a big stack of books and said, okay, kid, learn it. But you need special lenses if you're going to be successful taking the bar exam, if you're going to be successful looking at the eclipse. Your way forward may seem blocked now. You may be in this position where there's just hardly any sunlight shining through. It just looks so dark. How am I ever going to pass this stupid exam? How am I ever going to get to the point where I'm going to be barred in some state? Is it possible? And you may have a hard time seeing the light for all the clutter and the doubt that comes in, maybe when you go to bed each night or when you wake up in the morning. We have the paraliminals that you can use to try to counter that. June can help you on resetting your mindset and calming the chaos. When you look at personal coaching or workshops, that's what we do, is try to clear the clutter and remove the doubt and instead instill confidence in what you're doing. The answers you seek are just beyond your mind's naked eye. That's what we're trying to get you to see through photo reading, mind mapping, selective intuition. We're trying to get you to engage a different part of your brain to see past the darkness into the light. Because even though in this picture the sun is completely blocked except for little squirts of rays going out, you know that the sun's behind there. And it takes your mind's eye to see behind into the sunlight. I know they're there. I just can't get to them. And that's what we want to show you, is how you get to them. So I'm inviting you today to take a step back. This is 100 days until the exam this July. It's a great time to take stock of where you are. It's a great time to look at your calendar and make sure that you have your time management correct. And if you don't, to go ahead and sign up for some help on that. It's a great time to figure out your hardest subjects and your easiest subjects and get those lined up so that you don't avoid the hard subjects, but that you actually meet them head on. It's a great time to just take stock of what you want to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Do you want to be taking the bar exam again? Do you want to be barred somewhere and living your best life as a lawyer? Breathe. This is June's message to you every time. Just breathe. Take a breath. Get back on your heels, off your toes for a day, and take stock. You got this. We know you can do this. Know that the light is there just behind the darkness. Use the tools we offer you. We have private coaching available. We have group coaching. We have study aids that you have when you purchase the class. You get your group coaching just like purchasing the class, the opportunity to come to the Q&A or to submit questions and have Jackson and the other coaches answer those questions. Julie has mindset coaching for you, and we have bootcamp opportunities. We give at least 2 bootcamp opportunities before every exam. So you've got to do that, and you've got to trust the process. The way forward shall be made known to you, and your journey to success is beautiful. It's rare. It's awesome. and it's unique to you. The darkness shall pass as you gain skills and confidence. The sun will begin to appear and the light returns to lift your spirits. Your bar review journey has several guides. Trust the process. Release your anxiety. Welcome the unwelcome. Embrace the pain of this. Embrace it. Bring it in. What can you learn from it? Offer gratitude every day and release your resentments about how many times you haven't passed, how easy it seems for other people, what other people are doing in life that you haven't been able to do yet. Release those resentments and be grateful, and then seek the way forward as you surrender your ego to the process. And you too can wait and see the light return in your life, in your study process, in your day.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. It's great. It's the first time I got to see that. June, that's like, you're loving that stuff, aren't you?
It was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah. I know that you work so much with our students to talk about mindset, and sometimes people think that's peripheral, but it's not.
No, it's not. And the thing is, it's not just about your studies, it filters over into your whole life. And the more you can reclaim your joy and gratefulness and being in gratitude, the more that filters into every area of your life. Studying for the bar is not easy, but it doesn't have to be filled with anxiety. You can actually look forward to doing it, and you should be. This is part of your journey to get to where you want to be. And you need to look forward to each part of the journey and be in the now.
Absolutely. That's a lot of wisdom there in the last 15 minutes, guys. So hope you'll take that to heart. Join us for the virtual boot camp on May 10th and 11th, and to stay in touch. Let us know how you're doing. And we look forward to great results for those of you that are still waiting for your results from February. If you've gotten your results and you've not shared them with us yet, please do so that we can assist you if that's necessary. I hope everybody has a great study week. We are now starting to get into that window, right? 100-day window to the next exam. So this is the time certainly to pick up your studies. Appreciate Tracey and June for being here. Thanks as always. Amanda will join us again next week. We will see you all next Wednesday. And for now, we're going to go ahead and sign off. So take care, everybody. Bye-bye.